Okay, guys, a very warm welcome to my lesson for today. So what I need to do now, it is to share my screen. Once I've done that, I would like for you guys to confirm if you are able to clearly see my screen. So let's see, guys, how is it going at that side? Pujani, Kujo, Mendlonke, Oneile, Chiro, Amantle. Guys, are we all okay that side?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Okay, then it's fine. Then it's fine. I did get feedback from your side, and I am confident that all is well. So, on our previous lesson, we were doing the functions, and we focused mainly on a straight line and a parabola. And something that I've realized is that there is a revision which is needed, especially when it comes to the parts where we solve for the unknown, of which in most cases in mathematics we solve for x. So very quickly, as part of revision, I will just randomly select some questions from this compilation. I will just randomly select some questions, discuss how to approach this type of questions, give you some tips, and then as we continue with our lessons, we will then apply this knowledge that I'm going to be sharing with you in today's lesson. Can I please just rotate these like that, just so that I've got enough space to write in case if I will need to write. Some of these questions I might not completely do, but just give you the tips in terms of how you work them out. Remember, this is just a lesson where we do a very quick revision. The aim is to cover as much information as possible. So without any waste of our precious time, let's maybe have a look at that first one. Question number one. Remember, guys, very much important that at all the times you follow the numbering system used in the question paper. All of these are exam question papers. So it's just a compilation of past exam question papers. So that means all these questions are exam type of questions. It doesn't matter the type of a math that you are doing, you will always apply the same mathematical principles. So in answering your question, you will obviously have your question number one there, then you write 1.1. It's fine even if you write solve for x. Most importantly, before you answer a question, please make sure that you write 1.1.1 so that it is clear that what you are answering, it is for that specific question. Guys, remember to remain muted at all the times. Okay. So now let's see. We are having our very first question there. You look at this question, you must just remember something. They said solve for x. So that means in the end, you must have an answer that looks like x is equals to whatever. In some cases, you might find that you've got two possible answers where in between you have or, then you've got x is equals to whatever. This is how your final answer should look like. Anything that is not similar to that, just know that it is not an answer to the question. Okay, so when you are given a maths problem, honorable members, what I like about a question paper is that it gives you an idea of how much of work is needed. Anything from 3 marks going down, just know that it's just a matter of writing and you don't need to think that much. You start thinking from questions allocated 4 marks. That's when you know that, okay, it's either I'm going to be writing a lengthy a answer, or I'm going to have to think deep. So that means for questions which has got higher marks, you will be thinking deep and you might be writing lengthy answers. But anything from 3 going down, just know that it's just a matter of writing. So when looking at this first question, honorable members or members who are honorable, you will remember that you've got that which is being multiplied by that. Most importantly, if that is equated to 0, then it is the easiest. But if it was equated to a number, it could be 1 over 2, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be negative number. Then it's a lengthy calculation. Maybe let me work it out so that you've got an idea of what I am talking about. So that means straight away, in this case, you will just take this, you equate it to 0. And then you take that, you equate it to 0. Then you take this to the other side, and then you divide it by 2, that we know. So that means it ends up being positive 3, you took it to the other side, and then you divide it by 2, and then that's your final answer. Or your x is equals. It will be a mark for that and a mark for that. But if this was equated to 4, then that's when you do that by that, that by that, that by that, that by that, and then you write it in the standard form. You take this to the other side. Why? Just so that it can end up being in that standard form where everything it is equated to 0. Then you factorize it. After factorizing, it's like now you've taken it to exactly that state where you have the factors and everything is equated to 0. I hope that makes sense, honorable members. I've spent much time on that question, but it is worth it because you need to understand how to approach a given problem. Just in case if it comes differently, at least you know what is expected of you, what to look out for, and most importantly, marks allocated to each question, they serve as a guide, and you must always take into consideration the marks allocated to each question. Maybe let me move to the second one. I'll also jump onto the third one, if necessary, the fourth, and then I'll give you guys an opportunity to ask any questions that you might be having. So just in case if you've got a question, be an honorable member and write it down. Then we'll get to that session where you guys ask other questions and then I respond to your questions. Okay, the second one, honorable members, the moment you start seeing that's if you are given a problem and on the side you are given that. Leave your answer correct to 2 decimal places. That it simply means this cannot be factorized the usual way where you get the factors, but you must use that formula, the quadratic formula, that you must always know it by heart. That's what that means. Minus 4ac, the whole of this being divided by 2a. This is what that means. Not necessarily what it means, but it gives you a hint to say this is the formula that you must use. Then you must know that, okay, my A value, it is 7, then my B value, it is positive 3, my C value is negative 2. All that you do is to substitute into that formula, then you give the answers correct to 2 decimal places. Remember to round off where necessary. But in case if you are given a problem and it is not accompanied by that statement, chances are high that you can easily find the factors and work it out. I hope that makes sense, honorable members. But I would like to just remind you that for me, I'd already knew how to use that formula when I was in grade 10. And I've actually came to a realization that this formula can be used on every equation which is a quadratic equation. It will always give you the factors. So very much important that you learn that formula and you know it by heart. Okay, that was for 1.1.2. Remember, in case if you've got some questions, just make sure to note them down. We will come to those questions. Okay, now moving to 1.1.3. Again, honorable members, I might be saying something which may be wrong and I might not have noticed. Also note that down so that we can verify, because sometime towards the end of the year or during exams, you might be using these recordings to prepare, and you might find that I've said something that needs correction. If we don't correct it, then by the time you use this to prepare, I might not be there at the time, so you might be confused as to whether that's what I meant or I've said it by mistake. So just make sure that even the mistakes that I might be doing, let's talk about those to correct those. 1.1.3. Can you see this is another type of a math problem which has a square root? What are we expected to do at all the times? As long as we are under 1.1, it means what we are doing, it is to solve for x, meaning at the end of the day, we must be having x is equals 2 or x is equals 2. That's what we need to provide as an answer. So now, in a situation where we are given something that has a square root, how do we approach this type of questions? The first thing that you need to do, it is to isolate, like uNkulunkulu bandla. It is to isolate the square, meaning take away everything that does not have a square root. Take it away and write it on the right-hand side. What I mean by that is that on the left-hand side, just leave that whatever that is a square root. And then already on the right, you have x. This 3, it goes to the right-hand side as a visitor. That's why it has to change the currency from being positive to being a negative. You must always remember that your equal sign is actually a border. You're moving from here, you're going to England, you must make sure that you change the rands to Egdeng as the pound. Okay, so can you guys see you've now isolated this square root? Why did you isolate? The reason you had to isolate it is because you wanted to remove it. It's very much easier now to, how do you remove it? You just square it. But remember, whatever that you do on the left, you must do exactly the same thing on the right-hand side. I'm not sure if you guys remember, I did say that when you have a square root of 4, just know that there is an invisible 2 there. Just like when you write x, there is an invisible 1, which is not necessary to write. So even that 2 there, just know that every time you say square root, that 2 is always there. So this thing, square root of 4, it is actually the same as that 4 to the power of 1 over 2. So that means square root of whatever. This thing is the same as whatever to the exponent 1 over 2. So the reason why when we remove a square root, we always multiply by the power of 2, it's because that 2 that we multiply by, we actually trying to cancel that 2 and it cancels with that 1. Just like when you have 3 square root of whatever, this thing now is the same as whatever to the exponent 1 over 3. That's why to remove this thing, you will then multiply by 3. Doesn't matter whether it's 4. If it's 4, you multiply by, if it's 7, by 7. It's whatever by whatever. But if it is just square root, just know there is an invisible 2 there. That's why we multiply by 2. So that is what, so you just need to understand in mathematics, everything makes sense, honorable members. It can't be that they just say to remove a square root, you multiply by 2. But it doesn't make sense why we have to multiply by 2. There is a reason for every move in mathematics. I hope that makes sense, honorable members. So sometimes when complicated, it's not because you do not understand. It is not because you are a slow learner. It is possibly because it is not well explained. What I like about mathematics is that many examples can be given in order to make you understand. What you need to do from your side is just to make sure that you practice as much as you can until you have mastered whatever that you need to master. Just like when you have to practice a step, you are being a stroy and you have to practice a step, honorable members. You can't just practice today and then all of a Sunday you can be able to move that step during the. You need to practice on a daily basis. Similarly, when it comes to mathematics, you need to practice as much as you can. Spend much of your time practicing mathematics. In that way, it becomes easier when someone has to teach you something because you already have a background. It makes it quicker to learn because we don't have to do things step by step. We can easily just discuss these things, just like we are doing now, because we have done all of these things since the beginning of this year. But for me, with the other honorable members, we've done this the past year. So for me, I'm doing them, I think, for the fourth, if not the seventh time. So I no longer need to refer to the memo. I already know how they are being done. All that I'm working on is just to make sure that I explain them in the most simplest ways. So can you guys see now that, okay, this square root is removed, it means on the left you've got x minus 1. What does that 2 mean? It means 2 of exactly the same thing. So that means you've got 2 of exactly the same thing. All that we need to do is to make sure that we remove the brackets, because in mathematics, we always start where there are brackets. Where there are no brackets, we can just work out the like terms if they are there. But if they are not, then it means we just rewrite this thing exactly as it is. Then we attend to the brackets with the aim of removing the brackets. After removing, we work out the like terms. After working out the like terms, we write it in the standard form of ax squared plus bx plus c. We equate it to 0, we factorize, then we get the final answers. In this case, where a square root is involved, then it means you will need to check if both the answers are valid. That's how you practice mathematics in term 4, honorable members. You do not need to write all of these things, because an assumption is that you've written all of these things. All that you need to do is just to take your question paper and look at these things and say, okay, if I have to do this thing, this is what I'm going to do. We'll get to this stage, this is what I'm going to do, get to this stage, and then give the final answer. Then you move on to the next one. It shouldn't be, honorable members, it shouldn't be that you spend much of your time writing during term 4, especially during examinations. You mustn't be writing, honorable members. You mustn't be sweating that much. It's just your time to relax and say, okay, throughout the year, I've been doing these things, and you just look at it and say, this is how I'm going to work it out. You just look at it. I think, let me give you guys an opportunity to ask me some questions before we even go deeper. Hoping that you guys are still there taking some notes and also writing down your questions. Okay. Guys, anyone who's got a question for me, or ungabe konke kuhamba kahle, you can just unmute your mic and then let me know if all is good. Let me check. Guys, Nova 9. Ungabe konke kuhamba kahle lapha? Melo kuhle. Are we all okay?
Yes.
No further questions from your honor. Okay. Mntakamnisi, ungabe konke kuhamba kahle lapha?
Yebo, kuhamba kahle sir.
Kwakuhle lokho, kwakuhle. Okay. Kumo, are we okay there, honorable member? Ungasabi. Kumo the Kumos. Ungasabi. Are you sure you don't have a question for me, a honorable member or a member who is honorable? Hmm? Just remember to unmute your mic so that I'm able to hear you. Okay, 1.1.4. Let's look at 1.1.4, where we are given a math problem that has an inequality sign. This is an inequality sign, which could be less than, less, so it's equals to, no, greater than, greater, or is equals to. English words to these things. That one in English is actually less than. Less than. So that means less than or smaller than. That's what it means, that side in English. And then this one, I think it actually means at most. At most. If I have to make sense, okay, if you are less than 36 years old, it means you are a youth. So that means you must be less than 36 for you to be considered as youth. Meaning from 35 going down, you are youth. Then when we say at most, that number is included. For example, when we say less or is equals to 36, it means starting from 36. But you see, for this one, it means less than 36, meaning this 36 is not included. Okay, so this one, it means more than. More than. Okay, if you are more than 35, you are no longer considered youth, meaning starting from 36, you are no longer considered as youth. And then this one, or greater, is equals to, in English, is at least. At least. In other words, starting from. Starting from. So starting from 36 and up, an adult. Yes, I just wanted to give you guys a background as to what could these signs mean in a simple English. Now, coming to mathematics, you don't necessarily need to worry about what each sign means in simple English. You just need to be aware of what happens when what happens. Okay, notice something. You are given this. You are given this. What you need to do it is to rewrite it in the standard form. So you do whatever that you would do if that was an equal sign. Meaning you can rewrite this as it is. Obviously, that by that, that by that. We say we don't want to see the brackets in mathematics. What will that be? Is it 18? I think it's 18 honorable members. So now you need to rewrite all of this in the standard form, meaning you are allowed to take that 3 to the other side. It must change the currency, remember. Then this sign, it does not change. It remains as it is. At what point does that inequality sign change? It changes only if your A value was negative. Let's say it was negative invisible 1 there. That's when it changes, because you always want to have your positive A value. Meaning, if for some reason originally you had negative x squared, and then you did that by that, then you had to take this to the other side and also that to the other side. Then you will need to remove this negative. So as you remove it, mathematically, you change the sign everywhere. Look at me as I change the sign everywhere. I'm going to firstly change that sign. I'm going to change again this sign. I'm going to change again that sign. This thing, is it not a sign? It is a mathematical sign. So I'm now going to change it as well. This one, I must also change it. But remember, with 0, whether you change it from a positive 0 to negative 0 or xalayo, it will just remain as 0. So that means there we are having a 0. So now that's when you can find the factors there, and then you represent your answers on a number line. What you need to remember is that whatever the factors that you are having, you will have the circles there which are not shaded. And then if it's less than, if you remember, that's when I said it's in most cases where you just have that line joining. So something very much important to remember is that if you are having less than or maybe greater than, you are having the circles which are not shaded. But if it's less or it's equals to, it could be greater is equals to. This is where you have the circles which are shaded, circle which is shaded. And then here, this is where you're going to write whatever the factors that you are having there as critical values. But remember, this is where you say x is equals to whatever critical value, or x is equals to whatever critical value. Those are the values that you're going to be writing there. If, for example, you had negative 2 here, negative, let's say 3 here, that means you take this 2 to the other side and it becomes positive that, and then that one becomes positive that. That's what you write there. Starting with the small one as 2, and then the bigger one there's 3. It doesn't end there. You still need to then write that in that format where you say your 2 there and your 3 there. You represent it differently if you had a greater than inequality sign there. Just remember those things. So there might be that one person who has missed a lesson that we did, which includes this type of question. So you just need to remember that, okay, in those instances, you just need to catch up and go through a lesson where we go through questions related to inequalities. Then you'll have a better understanding of how to deal with this type of questions. Okay, anyone who's got a question for me on that one? Remember, guys, when it comes to mathematics, honorable members, maths questions, they don't change that much, honorable members. The principle doesn't change. It is very much important that whatever maths book that you come across, you look into that and you try work out those maths problems. So if you master the basics, you can be able to tackle any maths problem. That is why, honorable members, in my case, when I was in grade 11, my teacher would take me with his grade 12s, and I write a test with those honorable members and still more 100%. And the one behind me gets something like, what was it, 68 or 73%. That was because I was not choosing the problems. I didn't say because I was in grade 10, then I don't study grade 11, or grade 12 stuff. As long as it's mathematics, there's always somewhere to start. In that way, you learn how to study, because you don't just study and say, okay, I've studied, or they taught me how to do this thing, then I know it. Then you are going to have tough time when you get to tertiary, because when you get to tertiary, honorable members, it's very difficult there if you are not used to studying on your own. Myself, I never had a tutor, so you guys consider yourself very lucky to be having a tutor. And you mustn't relax saying, okay, I've got a tutor, then it means izinto zizoyenzeka. No. Our presence is just to guide you, honorable members. That includes the presence of your teachers. They are not necessarily there to teach you to know everything. You need to go extra mile and use them to better understand the things that you're trying to study on your own, so that when you get to tertiary, they will just give you a case study, they will just give you a project, and you work on it. So that when you get to the workplace, there's going to be a client who needs you to design a road from point A to point B. And your boss is going to say, okay, you're going to lead this project. So as a project leader, honorable members, there's no a teacher there to say, this is what you must do, this is how you must start, this is how you do this, and all of that. You need to find a suitable way to work around that specific project. And those skills, you can only learn them through the ability to study on your own. I hope you guys remember when I was telling you that myself by profession, I'm not a teacher, honorable members, but I was someone who got distinctions in mathematics, physical sciences, also life and geo. So I was very good in mathematics, honorable members. So these things are in my DNA. So I want to study civil engineering, and trust me, on my first test, I got 3% at UJ. That's why I studied civil engineering. I got 3%, and it was tough, very tough. But I survived, honorable members. I survived. Not necessarily because I was praying too hard. There was no time to pray, honorable members. You get moved and you realize there's no time to pray. You must just study. And that meant I had to adopt the ways that I used to use to study when I was in high school, meaning gather all the study material, especially the question papers that has the memos, and have that reliable textbook. Or it could be a study guide that summarizes whatever that you are doing. Go through all of that. Just read through that chapter 4 to 8 times. The next day, when I say 4 to 8 times, I mean in a day. There is no time, honorable members. There is no time. You study the topic from the start up until the end. And you do that same thing throughout the day. Do it 8 to 10 times. So the next day when you do it again, now you study to understand. You read to understand. Because already you are familiar with the terminology that is being used in that particular topic. You don't just open a textbook and then somewhere in the middle of a textbook you see a drawing which looks nice and then now you start studying from there. No, there's a page 1 for a reason. You can't start from the end of the textbook. You start from the beginning, you start from the start, because the first topic prepares you to the next topic. So you must start from the start. They will teach you all the tools that you will need in order to get to the final chapter. So these are the tactics, honorable. You don't need to pray. You don't need to fast. It's not like you have to respect everyone so that God will think you are a good person and then you get some marks all of it. It doesn't work that way, honorable members. It doesn't work that way. If you want to know, you study. If you are hungry, you don't pray to be full. You eat. If you want food, what is it? You must plant some trees. It could be vegetables or whatever. Then you grow your own food and then you eat. You can't just pray. You're not Jesus, honorable members. You can't turn some things into things and then you eat. You must know the limitations of your powers. Like I hope you guys got me on that one, honorable members. No magic, any mess problem, you deal with it. No choosing, no wara. Guys, did you hear me on that one, honorable members? Did you guys hear all that I was saying?
Perfectly well.
Was it clear?
Yes, sir.
Ningizwile nonke.
Perfectly well, sir.
Yes, sir.
Ningizwile. There is meant lonke connecting that ningizwile. Okay, then it's fine. It's fine. I am now going to give you guys an opportunity to participate, and then I'll be listening and giving you some tips there and there. So, how are we going to participate here? You look at that 1.1.1, and then you just guide us in terms of how to approach that one without having to write it down. You don't need to write it down. You just look at that and you say, okay, this is what we are given. This is what I can do. After that, this is what I will do so that my final answer looks like this. Just like what I was doing. If there's a need for you to write as you explain, you can also do that. Okay, 1.1.1. If you want to give it a try, you just mention your name and I will recognize you. 1.1.1. Anyone would like to say something about 1.1.1? Anyone would like to give it a try? Choose mask kit. Uyababona mani baningi. Choose mask kit. Okay, Precious Kokuni. Precious. Arabulej. 1.1.1. Or we better go
1.1.1.
Yebo.
And now ya ka nna nkere ke bona nkare re tlo tšea ntho x ela wa e multiplier ka wa tloša di-bracket wa multiplier ka dikelo tšeo di leng ka mogare.
Okay. Nambile
nkere sa re tlo tswela pele. E tswela pele.
Awa, tswela pele.
E ba 2x squared 1x is equals to 0.
Apo ka exam monna wa ngwala, ka exam wa ngwala. O tomorrow age. Kwa ba 30 minutes left. Wena o sa re age.
Ke tla dira e nngwe.
Se se ke bophelo. Precious a pole wa bophelo monna. Hewan, Sam. Luabi.
So, yes, sir.
Okay, Sam. It's not speaking. Yes, go for it, honorable member. Go for it. Is it difficult? Mendlonke, quick.
So you want me to do 1.1.1?
1.1.1.
Okay, sir.
1.1.1.
Okay, so x would equal to 0, or 2x plus 1 would equal to 0. Then you transpose 1 to the other side, it will become -1. Divide both sides by 2, x will equal to -half.
Exactly that, honorable member, exactly that. So Precious, because this thing, it's already equated to 0, you want it to do that by that, that by that. So look at it this way. It's like you are having, you see that x plus 0 there. It's like this. It's like this thing, if you look at it nicely. It's just that there is no that plus x there, but it is just x into that, and then that. So what Mendlonke is saying there, he's saying you just take this, you equate it to 0. Just say x is equal to 0. And then you say, or you say 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Then this to the other side, and then you divide by 2. So you end up having your x, which is equals to negative 1 over 2. Only if it was not equated to 0, and let's say instead of 0, it was 8 there. That's when you're going to do that by that, so that you take this 8 to the other side, so that everything is equated to 0. So that means the main aim is to make sure that everything is equated to 0. But if it's not equated to 0, then it's a different story. So if it's already equated to 0, then it has to be very quick and easy, especially that it is allocated 2 marks. Why kushisha wale Precious Kalimpo?
Yes, sir, kushisha.
Oh, sure, yaro, why kushisha?
Yes, ke bone hore ba dirang. Ke bone le hore ba
Oscar
dirang.
Karao. Okay. Good days. Maybe, okay, very quickly, someone to describe just that one. Anyone? Hmm? Guys, anyone to describe that 1.1.2?
Sir, if I had to make an assumption, I would say we need to use the quadratic formula.
Yes, exactly that. Because once you know that you are having that statement, then it means this is where you need to use that quadratic formula. Very, very much important, honorable members, on that one. Okay, maybe let's look at 1.1.4. 1.1.4. Anyone? If you need 1 minute to try, work it out very quickly. I will give you that time. Okay, maybe let me give you 5 minutes to work out 1.1.4. And then once you've got an answer, then you take a photo and then you send me that photo via WhatsApp inbox. We would like to see what you guys have done before we do the correction. So that means at 19:55, you send the picture. Whether you are done or not, you send it. I want to check how you guys are approaching that question. Did you guys get the instruction on that one?
Yes, sir.
Ningzwile nonke.
Yes, sir.
Ngiyathemba ukuthi ningizwile nonke. So I'll just be waiting, honorable members. Okay, 1 minute left. And I see that I will need to share my screen again. Guys, are you winning there? I just received a few. Okay, we've got some comments there. Let me check. Which question are we doing? Says I'm asking. Let me share my screen. Okay, let's see. Just received another one. Let's see. Let me do that. It is 1.1.4 that you are doing. It is that one. That one. Okay, let's see what the honorable member did there. They did that. This looks correct. This one, it looks convincing. I just wanted to see that first part. Okay, guys, time to submit. Time to submit. It's just a few of you who have not yet submitted, but most of you did submit. Let's see. That, and then from there say that, and yeah. Okay. Let's look at this one. What did the honorable member do there? They said that to there, and then that, and that. Okay, this one looks convincing also, just because, okay, they got that and that not equal to that. And then, no. Even if it's not yet done, it's fine. Okay, that did that one there. Okay, I see. Let's look at this one. This one did. Okay. 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 Let me check the last. Okay. Okay. Then it's fine. Honorable members, well done on your attempts. It is going to help me to extrapolate this one. Okay, so let's see. You remember what I said was you just need to make sure that on the left you leave something that has a square root. Nay. So on the left you already have a 2 square root of x plus 6. Then you say this is equals to, already on the right you have x, nay. So you're just taking this one to the other side. It changes the sign, it becomes minus 2. Can you see? Now, the next step, it is to put everything inside the brackets so that you can square both sides to remove that square root. This 2, it is already there. This 2, you don't take it to the other side. It's not possible. You don't separate it that way. But instead, you already have that 2 being there. Someone might be saying, but this one is not the same as that one that we previously did. Something that you need to be aware of is that if you have square root of x, let's say it was plus 3 there minus 2 equals to x, just know that you have invisible 1 there. So even on this step where you do the square it's x, and then you took that 2 to the other side. You also square it, and you know that one is out. Similarly, in this case, this 2, now it finds a number there, which is 2. That means if you square the 2, you have 4 into, then it removes the root. That removes that square root. Okay, guys, I did get an inbox from Mendlonken Oneile there, letting me know that I am disconnected and I am breaking. So I did notice I just had to hotspot myself. But just before we wrap up, can you guys see what I've written there? Does it make sense in terms of where that 4 that I've written is coming from? And how the square root was removed? Does it make sense to everyone? Or is there anyone who's got a question on that one?
No questions on my side.
No questions, sir.
No questions. Okay, this okay, let me check. Kumo, are you okay there, honorable member? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Are you sure? Ungasabi, ngikhala ukaro utshaba batho mna Kumo.
Nah, I was out, so I was in an Uber the whole time, so I just got back.
Oh, okay, no, I see.
Yeah.
But did you manage to get part of the lesson? Because it seems like you've been here since the beginning.
I was watching the whole time. It was just observing. So I'm gonna
okay.
watch the recording
then,
later. And then
it's fine.
Yeah.
Then it's but were you following?
Yeah.
Good.
It was a long drive.
Then it's fine. Just make sure that at the end of this lesson, you remind me to share the recording. I think there's another honorable member. I think that was Chiro. There's a power outage on her side. She also requested that I share this recording. Everyone else, in case if you might be experiencing some challenges on your side, just remember to let me know to share the recording. Okay, guys, I think for now we'll just have to leave it here until we meet again next week on Monday. So, ladies and gentlemen, I do thank you very much for joining. Trust me when I say my name starts with a letter D, and guess what? I am out. Shukti Sengpumile March. Guys, Sengpumile March. Hey, I